We are walking into the Duh series. We're walking into the Duh series, and we're going to take on some more practical things of life. And you might find yourself saying throughout this series, well, duh, good, because that's kind of the point. We want to kind of bring it really, make it really simple, and just bring a lot of like common sense, duh stuff to you. And here's the deal. This morning, you're probably not going to turn to someone and say, could you give me the third pen? Because I've written up so many notes. I need more paper and I need more ink because this is like, wow, new stuff. I never heard it before. This is crazy. And it's not going to be like that today. If you're expecting that, I'm sorry. I'm going to disappoint you. Today, you're probably going to hear stuff that you heard before. Now, here's the deal. The problem has never been that you don't know. The problem has never been that I don't know. The problem is I don't do. The problem is you don't do. So you're probably not going to hear anything that's really radical. And you're like, this is so new. And so here's what I'm going to do today. Because I have so much information to go through, I'm just so excited about being up here. What's going to happen is I'm just going to start talking in the lesson, and then I'm going to close when I have to close because of time, and then I'm just going to email the rest out of it, or the rest of it out to you. I'm just going to email it to you for those of you on the email sign-up sheet on our website. But here's the deal. Today, I want to start with the big duh. I'm just going to go right to the end, and I'm going to start with the big duh, and then I just want to talk about it a little bit, okay? Here's the big duh of today. I know, just be ready. This isn't anything you haven't heard before. Just get ready, because you're going to be bored to tears with stuff you've heard already, okay? This is the great big duh, okay? You're so set up to hear something you've always heard. If you open your life to God, like if you're going to do life and you open up your heart to God and you say to God, I want to change to get on your page, Scripture says God blesses that. If you're going to do life and you're going to go through life and say, I'm going to open my heart and my everything to God because I want to get on God's page, Scripture says God blesses that. He's going to bless you. He's going to redeem you. He's going to preserve you. Now, let's get this straight. This doesn't mean He removes all your pain and suffering. He never has done that. Scripture's quite clear. We struggle in this world and there's pain and sin. But in general, when you open up your life to God, Scripture's also very clear that says, I'm going to bless you and preserve you and love you and redeem you as you walk on this earth. Duh, right? The converse of that is true too. If you're a person that walks through life and says, I'm not going to open up my life or my heart to God, and I'm not going to change. In fact, I go to church, and I'm going to change when I feel like changing. Not because of God's principles, not because of what is said in Scripture. No. I'm going to be the determining factor whether I change or not. I'm going to go through life. I'm going to be the center of the earth. I've got this pride thing, and I'm not going to change. I'm not going to do anything. Scripture says you cut yourself off from God. You cut yourself off from the blessings of God. So the real big duh this morning, the duh is this. If you open your life to God and say, I'm willing to change, God blesses it. If you're the person walking through life and say, I'm not going to change, I'm going to go through life the way I want, what I want, how I want, I'm going to do what I want like a bull in a china shop, you cut yourself off from the blessings of God. I mean, duh. This is kind of common sense, right? You know this. You've heard this. And the biggest dilemma of my life when I was growing up is I never opened my heart and followed God. I never let Him in. If I were to look back on my life right now, I can tell you I feel like God has redeemed me. I feel like we're headed for a brand new end. But if I were to look at my life all the way back into history, there's a good 10, 15, 20 years in there. That if I could do it all over, I'd go back and do it all over. Now, some of you are really young and you don't get that. Some of you are older and, man, you connect with me. You look back over your life and say, man, I wish I could have made some really significant change. I wish that decision I made when I was in middle school or high school, or the decision I made when I newly got married, and we did this, and I wish we would have done that. Man, I wish I could go back. I wish I could go back and make some things different. I really do. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about life that happens. When you find yourself in life and you're looking back with regrets, or you find yourself in a spot that you're not really proud of, or you find yourself in a spot and you ask yourself, how did I get here? How did I get here? How did other people get to where they were at? And how did I get here? And if I look back, I wish I could really make changes. Here's the deal about God. God will come into your life. He will redeem you. bless you and love you, and he'll give you a brand new end. But not even God will come and change your past. Past is a past. The decisions are the decisions. It's done. So my talk today, what I want to talk about is this. Imagine yourself 5 years in the future from now. Imagine yourself 10 years in the future from now, looking back on today, January 2nd, year 2011. Imagine, right? 15, 30 years out, looking back on today. What I want to talk about is how we live lives so we don't end up in that spot. I want to talk about, so when you're in year 2021, you're not looking back 10 years ago and saying to yourself, I wish I would have done it different in 2011. I wish that I have some regrets and I have some remorses. And out 10, 20, 30 years, you're looking back on today and saying, I have no regrets. I love my life. I love what God has done in my life. And that's what I want to talk to you about. This is like big deal stuff, especially as we enter into a whole new year. So let me just get started. I want to jump right into Proverbs 1:20, and this talk goes way into Proverbs 2:19. It's like a big chunk of scripture. I'm not going to be able to get through it all, but I just want to start because I want to address this big thing in our lives. If you open up your life to God and say, I want to change, I want to get on your page, God blesses it, honors it, and redeems it. If you're a person that says, I don't want to open myself up to God, I'll decide when I change, you cut yourself off from God. Just know this. It's duh. But sometimes we don't, even though it's simple and although it's so elementary, it's so duh, we don't do it all the time. So let's just jump into Proverbs 1:20. This is what Solomon wrote. Wisdom shouts in the streets. She cries out in the public square. She calls out to the crowds along the main street and to those in front of City Hall. She says, you simpleton, she cries. How long will you go on being simple-minded? How long will you mockers relish your mocking? How long will you fools fight the facts? Come here and listen to me, she says. I'll pour out the spirit of wisdom upon you, and I will make you wise. Now, this is really important to understand before I jump into this. Wisdom is talking here, not God. This is not God talking. This is wisdom talking. Now, God created wisdom, but this is wisdom talking, not God. So, what is wisdom? Wisdom is common sense. Wisdom is the way the world works. You stay out of debt. You save a little bit. You have a lot whenever you're at the end of your life. It's common sense. It's duh, right? So wisdom is this common sense. It's very practical. It's the duh way of living. Like when you're full after Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, you don't eat anymore. Because you eat anymore, you're going to gain weight. And then you live like that for 20 years. Then you're going to be overweight. And then the doctor's going to say you need to lose weight to save your life. And you're going to say, oh my word, how did I get here? Well, you got here a long time ago. It's like saying, I have no money, but I bought it, and I'm going to buy that, and it ends up in a bad spot. The duh way of living, the wise way of living, is common sense. It's the way the world works. Like, if you live that way, it's wisdom. If you don't live that way, it's not wisdom. You could actually say wisdom, practically, is this way of doing life where I make right decisions, not based on what I want, not based on how I feel. I'm going to make the right decision. That's wisdom. Practically, that's wisdom. Now, spiritually, there's another definition of wisdom. And God in Scripture defines what wisdom is spiritually. Spiritually speaking, wisdom is the fear of the Lord. A lot of people ask me, what does that mean in Proverbs when it says the fear of the Lord? Does that mean you're terrorized by a holy God who's going to beat you if you do something wrong? No. That's not at all what this means. Fear of the Lord actually is defined in Proverbs 8. Let me explain it to you, or let me read it to you. It's this way. All who fear the Lord, that's wisdom, will hate evil. That is why I hate pride, arrogance, corruption, and perverted speech. All who fear the Lord will hate evil. Spiritually speaking, wisdom is when you're so in love with God that you hate evil. You don't dislike evil, you hate evil. You don't play footsies with evil. You don't go to church and act holy and you have all these things in your life because you're playing footsies with evil. You're trying to see how close to the line you can get. No, you're so in love with God that you hate evil because you know the ramifications that it has in your life. Spiritually speaking, wisdom is that way of living that says, I love God so much that I hate evil. I don't play footsies with evil. I don't allow evil. I hate evil. So wisdom is crying out to everybody in this first chunk of Scripture. Wisdom is calling out to everybody, screaming to everybody in the town who will listen to her. Please listen to me. Please, please, please. How long can you imagine a crowded, busy area at the mall? People are just kind of going to get their stuff, and wisdom stands up and says, listen to me. Everybody stop, listen to me. How long will you live in your simple ways? And I don't mean to offend you or me, but one of the ways that you can define that is, how long will you live in your stupid ways? How long will you live in these perverse ways where you go to church and act like you're holy, but you're playing with footsies with evil? How long will you ignore wisdom and common sense and the way the world works? Like, listen, everybody stop, time out. I'm wisdom. I love you and I want to preserve you. Listen to me, I beg you. That's wisdom calling out to all of us. Common sense, the way the world works. This way of living that says, I'm so in love with God that I hate evil. I don't even play footsies with evil. I just don't even want to go there because I know what it can do to my life. That's wisdom. And so if wisdom is calling out to you and our children and me and wisdom's out there, how do most people respond? Well, Proverbs goes on. Wisdom says, I called so often, but you didn't come. I reached out to you, but you paid no attention. You ignored my advice and rejected the correction I offered. You can almost sense the frustration in wisdom's voice, can't you? Like, I was there. And I was there, and I begged you, and you wouldn't listen to me. In general, most people blow wisdom off. Most people say, I'm going to do what I want, when I want, how I want. Even when it comes to God and His principles and Scriptures, I'm the center of the universe, not God. And then wisdom says, I've been calling out for you forever. And a lot of people hear and say, well, that makes sense, but I'm not going to do that. I can see that's a good point, but I'm not going to do that. And so how does wisdom call out to you? How does wisdom call out to me? Well, wisdom's been crying out to all of us since day one. Wisdom primarily through your parents, through Scripture, through your pastor, through your leaders, through a soccer coach or basketball coach or whatever kind of coach you have, through the books you read. Wisdom is screaming out to everybody. If you don't have money, don't spend it. If you're feeling full, don't eat it. I mean, it's duh, right? Wisdom is crying out to everybody. And if there's an immoral woman, don't go play footsies with her. I mean, this is duh. I mean, we know this stuff, but we don't live that way. If you want to have a great relationship with your spouse, invest time, money, and energy into them. If you don't, you blow them off, you're going to end up in a bad spot. I mean, wisdom has been calling out through Scripture and through your pastor and through your parents and through books and through your coaches and teachers for generations and generations. So what happens? What happens if wisdom has been calling out to us for years and years and years, and we kind of blow her off? We're like, well, that's nice. My parents are stupid. I know what's better. Or that's nice. The pastor was paid to say that. That's just nonsense. I'm still going to go do what I want to do. Oh, that's nice. I read that in the book. It makes complete financial sense, but we're not going to do that. What happens over time